think I'm an idiot?
And it feels so good. Oh yeah. And it feels so good.
Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's SW Boston here, bringing you another video here on Monday. It's a vlog day, and I'm going to be covering what the Celtics did in the draft and their upcoming free agency period, and what the Bruins did in their draft, and my opinions on these. So let's jump right in and talk about the Celtics, the first draft that happened last week on Thursday. Thursday night, Celtics come out in the number 3 pick. Everybody knows that they want to trade that pick. Multiple offers come in, including Nerlens Noel, Jahlil Okafor, picks from Philadelphia, and Robert Covington for the number 3 pick, and I think it was a player like Jay Crowder or something like that. We don't take that trade. There was talks with Chicago about obtaining Jimmy Butler, which the initial trade was picks 3, 16, 28, the 31 Avery Bradley and Marcus Smart for Jimmy Butler, which is way too much. We're not getting LeBron, we're getting Jimmy Butler, so I can see why they declined that trade, but I heard also that the talks came down, and it was like picks 3 and 16, Avery Bradley, and maybe like a future second round pick or something like that for Jimmy Butler, and I think I would have done that trade. There's one more report that the Milwaukee Bucks wanted to trade for the number 3 pick. Actually, it wasn't the number 3 pick, it was 16 and 28 that they wanted. They wanted 16, 28, and a player for either Jabari Parker or Chris Middleton, and Greg Monroe would come in the package with that player. That was a report I saw on Twitter that became pretty active, probably 15, 20 minutes before the Celtics were going to be drafting their pick. They didn't do any of those trades. They wound up taking Jaylen Brown, freshman out of Cal, who shot 30-something% from the field in his first year. He's a main driver, kind of lanky defensive guy. He's like a 6'6", something like that. So I'm disappointed with that pick. If you're not going to trade it, take somebody who's going to immediately impact your team, not a project. If you have the number 3 pick, you can't be taking a project player like a Dragon Bender or a Jaylen Brown. You need somebody, a Chris Dunn, a Jamal Murray, a Buddy Hield, someone like that. And then they draft 3 international players. They take 6 or 7 of their picks in the draft out of 8. They trade 1 away, which was probably their best pick. They get in the second round first pick. They get Davis out of Michigan State, and they traded him to Memphis, which is probably their best pick in the entire draft. They draft 3 foreigns, an undersized center, a project, and I think they took 1 or 2 guards. So I mean, they took 6 or 7 draft picks, which was way too many. You don't have the roster space for that many people. Good news is that in upcoming free agency, they have 2 max contracts that they can sign. They're in the final 6 for consideration for Kevin Durant to Celtics, along with the Thunder, Warriors, Spurs, Lakers, and somebody else. But one of the final 6 is a good thing. Isaiah Thomas has been kind of trying to recruit him. He's been teasing along the way, tweeting out KD35 of the Shamrock. He followed him on Instagram the other week, and he said on Twitter the other day that he wants a pair of the new Nike KD. I think it's 5 or 6s or something like that are coming up. So Isaiah's been trying to recruit him, which is good. Al Horford's a free agent. That's been another guy who's been linked here. There's been reports that the Celtics want to sign Hassan Whiteside. So if they pull off bringing in Whiteside and Kevin Durant, they instantly become probably the second best team in the Eastern Conference. They can challenge the Cavs immediately. they'll probably be in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavs next year. So the thing that needs to happen is the signing of Kevin Durant. Hassan Whiteside wants to sign a contract July 1st, the day the free agency opens. So if they make a splash, sign Hassan Whiteside, then they can say, oh, we got Isaiah Thomas, All-Star. We got Hassan Whiteside, who was a budding All-Star / superstar. Yeah, Avery Bradley plays great defense. And then your four is kind of an if right now, probably Amir Johnson. Big guy, defends, grabs rebounds. So, I mean, you got 2 rim protectors. You got a guy who can guard anybody in the league at 2. You got Isaiah Thomas who can handle the ball and guard. You got Marcus Smart off the bench who can guard. If you're Kevin Durant, you're looking at that team. He's like, you want to run a ring? It could happen. It's between you and the Cavs winning the East, and then it's between whoever wins that and the Western Conference team. So it's not a bad choice for Kevin Durant. But I mean, if he wants to win a ring, Warriors have been in the championship twice in a row. Spurs are always the championship contenders. Thunder went up 3-1 on the Warriors and lost. The Lakers are in a rebuild, so I don't know if that's an option. They do have some great players, but they just drafted Brandon Ingram, so he would have to move to the 4. Brandon Ingram would have to move to the 4 or the 2. So that scenario doesn't really work in my eyes. That's basically the Celtics in a nutshell. I think they had a poor draft. They need to make it up to the fans and on what they promised of trying to bring the Celtics back to being great with all these picks that they acquired from Brooklyn via a trade or a splash in the free agency market. Kevin Durant and Hassan Whiteside would be those splashes. Trade-wise, I don't know who they can pull off the team right now. We need for the Celtics to be relevant and one of the best teams in the East, they need a star. Isaiah Thomas, for us, is a star, but he's not an NBA star. He's an all-star. He needs to be a superstar. We need a superstar and a good supporting cast, maybe even 2 superstars, to be a championship contender in this league. Now on to the Bruins. The Bruins were a lot more active in pursuing trades. They didn't pull any. There's been reports that they're leading to get Kevin Shattenkirk, the defender. There's also reports that they asked about Shea Weber, which I don't think Nashville would let him go if you gave them every first pick in the next 10 years. But I mean, they're trying to get their defense situated. Their offense was one of the best in the league last year. It's just their defense and goaltending weren't. Tuukka Rask. I mean, if someone gave you the right price, I'd trade him. If someone came to me and said, I'll give you maybe a top 2 defenseman, maybe a pick, or a couple young defensemen who could be top 4 defensemen and a pick, I think I'd do it, honestly. He's not a great goalie, he's a good goalie, he's above average. He has been great at times, he's been just very poor at times, so we'll see what they do. But they're looking to trade, from what I heard, they're looking to trade Chara, they're looking to trade Seidenberg, they're looking to pick up more defensemen, more young top 4 defensemen. They're trying to re-sign Torrey Krug, trying to re-sign Louis Eriksson, which is great news for them. And from what I've heard, they're in the talks for Steven Stamkos. They're one of the perennial top 5 destinations for Steven Stamkos, which include Toronto, going back to Tampa Bay, Detroit, Boston, and I'm not sure where else. Maybe the Rangers. But if they got Steven Stamkos, that team changes massively. Then you can pull off a trade with somebody else. You can pull off a trade with another. I mean, you'd have probably the 3 top. Like if you compare team to team to team to team, you probably have the best centers in the league. You'd have Bergeron at 1, Krejci at 1, and Stamkos at 1. So you have basically centers 1A, 1B, and 1C. They're not none of them's really a second line or a third line center. They're all kind of first line centers. If they're on different teams, they'd probably be in the running for first line center. So you could do that. You might be able to move Steven Stamkos to a wing. So you have, I'd probably say put him on. If you're gonna put him on someone's wing, you have Bergeron, Marchand, and Stamkos. Oh God, that's deadly. And then you can have Krejci. If Eriksson comes back, you can have Krejci, Eriksson, and Pasternak, which would be great. There are also talks that the Bruins want to re-sign and bring back Milan Lucic, which I wouldn't be against. I love Milan Lucic. I went to the game where he returned to Boston, and the LA Kings absolutely dicked on the Bruins. So I wouldn't be against that. I just want to see them be aggressive. They've been aggressive ever since Don Sweeney came in. They've been aggressive with trades, acquiring picks, dealing players. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do over the next couple of days, moving towards free agency, as they've now gotten into the point where you can start talking to the free agents before they actually sign. So if free agent period starts for both the Bruins and the Celtics, and 2 weeks in, the decisions have been made by the stars that are free agents, and you have Kevin Durant and Steven Stamkos both coming to Boston, I'd probably be the happiest man on the planet, because we get two superstars that are still entering their prime, if not in the beginning of their prime, coming to Boston to help teams that are contenders now. Well, Celtics, you can't really say are contenders because there's nobody contending with the Cavs in the East. But the Bruins are contenders. They just need to upgrade their defense. They upgrade their defense, they're an immediate contender. Celtics, they bring in Kevin Durant, instant contender. So that's my thoughts on it. I'd be pushing for a max deal with Kevin Durant and Whiteside for the Celtics. For the Bruins, I know you need to upgrade your defense, but if you can throw however much cap you have and outbid everybody for Steven Stamkos, and you get Steven Stamkos, you can worry about trading for defense later. You got a plethora of young players. You got picks. You can trade one of your, not superstars, but you can trade one of your better players. I'd say Krejci or Marchand. Most likely Krejci if you get Stamkos. You can trade Chara, you can trade Seidenberg, you can trade Tuukka Rask if it comes down to it. There's plenty of moves that can be made once you get Stamkos to improve that team even more. So that's my take on everything Boston sports this week. And after the drafts, heading into free agency, in a couple weeks, I'll do another vlog on what moves have been made in the NHL and what moves have been made in the NBA regarding free agency. So, thank you guys for watching this video. If you like to hit that like button, hit subscribe to stay up to date with all my videos. This is SW Boston, guys. Have a great day.
Let's go!